In this exciting episode of Catechism for Kids, we dive into the dramatic story of Elisha and the Chariots of Fire from 2 Kings 6:15 to 17. It's a thrilling tale of faith, courage, and God's mighty protection. Join us as we explore this captivating Bible story and discover its valuable lessons for all of us. Have you ever felt outnumbered and afraid? Picture yourself in a battle with an army so large that you're sure to be defeated. That was exactly how Elisha's servant felt when he woke up in the middle of the night to an overwhelming sight. Surrounding their camp were the chariots and soldiers of the Arameans' army, ready to capture them. Fear gripped him like a vice, and he cried out to Elisha, "Alas, my master, what shall we do?" But Elisha, the great prophet of God, remained calm. He knew that although they were surrounded, he wasn't alone. With quiet confidence, he prayed to God, asking him to open his servant's eyes so he could see what Elisha saw. And as if in answer to his prayer, God caused the young man to see the most incredible sight. All around Elisha were chariots and horses of fire, not just a few, but so many that they formed a protective circle, a heavenly host ready to defend them. For God had sent his own invisible army to protect them. The Arameans and their allies were completely surrounded by God's power. The servant was overjoyed and exclaimed, "My eyes are now open. Sir, there are chariots and horsemen, a multitude like the stars of heaven." Then something amazing happened. Those chariots of fire shot forward, striking the Aramean army and causing them to stumble and fall. Couldn't stand their ground against the power of God, and before they knew it, they were fleeing in panic. As the heavenly chariots struck the Arameans, some of them cried out, "A nation and a kingdom at our disposal. Yet these are chariots of fire among us." When the king of Israel heard about this miraculous defeat, he summoned Elisha and asked him, "Did you really see chariots of fire?"
Elisha replied,
"Many more are on my side than on yours, my lord, the king." Then the Lord spoke to Elisha and said, "Your people will certainly defeat the Arameans at your command. You shall also recover what belongs to Israel." So Elisha instructed the king, "Tomorrow, go down and take your equipment and weapons and attack." And you won't believe what happened next. As the Israelites went into battle the following day, everything happened exactly as the Lord had promised through Elisha. They won a great victory, defeating the Arameans and recovering all of their plunder. Isn't that an incredible story? If you want to hear more exciting Bible adventures for kids, stay tuned for more videos. Now let's talk about some important things we learned from this amazing story. Do you remember how scared the servant was when he saw the Arameans surrounding them? Sometimes when we face big problems or feel like we're being attacked, we might get scared too. But this story reminds us that we shouldn't be afraid, because God is always with us, even when things look really bad. The mysterious horses and chariots of fire that appear in the Bible have captivated readers for centuries. These fiery visions carry great symbolic meaning and have been interpreted in different ways across time. This dramatic episode highlights God's protection over his people. The chariots of fire symbolize divine protection and deliverance. Though Elisha was surrounded by mortal enemies, God dispatched his heavenly host to guard his servant. The chariots of fire likely evoked memories of Elijah's ascension into heaven on a fiery chariots, 2 Kings 2:11-12. Just as God provided supernatural transportation to deliver Elijah, he provided supernatural protection for Elisha. These angelic chariots demonstrated that those who threaten God's people face his heavenly army. As Elisha declared, God's forces outnumber any earthly foe. The story climaxes with the Aram army being struck blind and led captive into Samaria at Elisha's word. The heavenly chariots protected Elisha and discomfited his enemies. Throughout Scripture, angelic beings are described as facilitating God's interactions with his people, providing guidance, deliverance, and protection. The chariots of fire in 2 Kings are a powerful example of how God commands the army of heaven on behalf of his people. 1 Kings 22:19, even when surrounded and outnumbered. Believers can have confidence that those who are with us are more than those who are with them. In the Bible, horses often symbolize speed, strength, and power. Fiery horses pulling divine chariots imply supernatural speed and might. For example, 2 Kings 6:17 describes the mountain being full of horses and chariots of fire around Elisha, indicating divine protection and forces beyond natural strength surrounding the prophet. The imagery of fast, strong horses and chariots likely invoked awe and even fear in ancient cultures. The fiery aspect adds a tone of divine glory, judgment, and supernatural wonder. As Gill's exposition notes on the 2 Kings passage, this army of horses and chariots of fire showed that angels are ministering spirits, canon on saints, encamp around them, in their favor, and for their protection and defense. Biblical passages also present fiery horses and chariots as executing God's judgment on evildoers. For example, 2 Kings 2-11 states that Elijah was taken to heaven in a chariot and horses of fire. This implies he was under divine protection. But passages like Isaiah 66-15 show God coming with fire and chariots to render fury and rebuke. This presents a more fearsome vision of judgment. Similarly, Revelation 19:11-16 depicts Christ returning on a white horse with fiery eyes to strike down the nations. So while they can represent might in defense of the faithful, the blazing horses and chariots frequently symbolize God traveling swiftly to recompense the wicked. Their fire burns earthly evil and corruption and the holy judgment of the Lord. The fiery vividness of horses and chariots symbolically emphasizes the supernatural, mystical element of these visions. It marks the mysterious display of great power and glory of spiritual forces. Passages like 2 Kings 6 and Psalm 68-17 picture chariots of God defending saints through unseen angelic armies and blessings. Just as foreign enemies feared the thundering approach of mighty war horses and chariots, demonic forces recoil from these burning heavenly vehicles and riders. So, in addition to representing judgment, the blazing horses and chariots can symbolize divine protection, angelic strength, and eternal holy fire surrounding believers. They are sacred, mystical guardians, both for redeeming the penitent and punishing the wicked. And isn't it amazing that God has his very own special army of angels that he can send to help us whenever we need it? Just like Elisha asked God to help his servant see the chariots of fire, we can ask God to help us see his protection in our lives too. Remember, when we belong to God, we're never really alone. Heaven's help is much closer than we think, and God's angels are always on a mission to help those who love him. So let's learn from Elisha how to see with eyes of faith and trust in God's mighty protection, knowing that no matter what troubles we face, God's love and power are always with us. Now it's time for you to talk. What did you like best about the story of Elisha and the chariots of fire? And how does this story make you feel closer to God? Share your thoughts below. We would love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this episode of Catechism for Kids, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting adventures. Thank you for joining us today. May God bless you and keep you until next time. Bye for now.